Hi there, it's Professor Monty. Let's look at polynomial inequalities and rational inequalities graphically. So the big thing to remember there is if we've got the function, say f of x is greater than 0, well, that's the y value. If the y value is greater than 0, it's a positive number. That means the graph is above the x-axis because the x-axis is the line y equals 0. And if f of x is less than 0, it just means the graph is below the x-axis. So let's look at a couple examples. So I've got solve f of x is greater than or equal to 0. Well, remember the greater than means it's above the x-axis. And then we'll deal with that equals as well. So if I look at this graph, so this is the graph of f of x. I want to know when this graph is above the x-axis. Well, graphically, it's above in this region here and in this region here. But we're trying to say over what intervals of x that's the case. So think about if we were like to shine a light down here, and it would make the shadow right here. That's the region the graph is above the x-axis. And also over here forever. And we just need to say what those regions are. Now, notice x-wise, this is -3, that's +2. So to answer this question, it's from -3 to 2. We'll do that in black. But it says greater than or equal. So that means it's above the x-axis or it's touching. So we get to include -3 and 2. So we put those in brackets. Union, meaning or, anywhere over here, starting at 5 and then forever to the right. So bracket 5, comma, goes on to the right forever. Infinity, remember infinities are always parentheses because it doesn't include that as a point. And that's my answer. Those are the regions, those are the x values where this function is above the x-axis or equal to. F of x is greater than or equal to 0. And then over here, let's look at this same type of thing. We want to know where g of x, that's the blue graph in this case, is less than 0. So in this case, below the x-axis. And so we look and we say, okay, here's the x-axis. When's it below? Oh, it's below here, and it's below here. And so region-wise, that's this region and this region. Well, this is x equals -1. So we can say -1 all the way until we get to 0. Notice it never quite gets to x is -1, so we put a parentheses there. And over here, since it just says less than 0, just below, we're going to have a parentheses. If this was a less than or equal, we'd have a bracket right here because it's equal to 0. We'd still have a parenthesis here. Hopefully that makes sense. And we've got another region over here from, let's see, that's x is 3 all the way to x is 4. And let's actually do this. Let's make that a less than or equal to. Because then what's going to happen, when it's equal to, we can keep it. So we can keep it at 0. Notice it still wasn't equal to 0 over here. It's down below. So -1 parentheses, it's below, but it's equal to at 0, so we get to keep that. And then over here, it's parentheses at the 3, but it's equal at the 4. So that would be our answer there. I think that's a nice change to make that a less than or equal, so we can see that corresponding answer as well. All right, so just remember, if it says greater than, it means it's above the x-axis. Less means below. We always have to get a 0 on one side first for that to be true. All right, practice these, look at them, make sure they make sense, pause and go back and rewind if you need to, but I think you'll get it pretty soon.